Are you ready?
Ever ready.
Scuba Obsessed is the weekly podcast. We talk about all things scuba diving, from cool new gear, to places to dive, and scuba news. Scuba Obsessed episode, gotta find the number.
537.
537. Scuba Obsessed episode 537 is recorded live June 9th, 2022. Welcome back to Scuba Obsessed. I'm Darren Gilson, coming to you from the southwest side of the great state of Michigan. This is one of my favorite times of the year. And this is when, you know, all other areas of the country can just go and take it, because it doesn't. We don't have the bugs yet. The mosquitoes haven't figured out how to suck us dry. Ticks are only now getting into the news, and the water is warming up. So joining me this week, we have Mack, the dive mentor. How you doing today, Mack?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm going to have to get a coughing spell here.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, we edit all that out. It's like you're no cough at all. Yeah. Oh, I did end up getting my my fourth shot, my second booster. Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Second booster, twice removed, cousin. So
I am getting mine next week.
Oh, your second booster?
Yep.
Yep. Oh yeah, my wife works right next to the health department, so it was convenient. She had signed up, and she's like, I got an appointment for you too. So I went in.
It's just amazing how much verbalization goes on about the good, bad, or indifferent for that. Even now.
Well, the tough thing.
Years.
Right. Yeah. So, this is not medical advice. Don't listen to anything we say. We could be completely right or completely wrong. But my opinion, everybody's got a story about their friend, who got the shot and X, Y, and Z happened. But
yeah,
that's a sampling of one. And there's always something else that could be going on. And it's not to discount people who have problems. It's not to say people can't have problems, but I think that gets hyped up because, I mean, what it bleeds, it leads. Yeah. So that makes it in the news real quick. But then on the other hand, I have a problem with people who completely discount anybody's concerns about taking any medical product or procedure. Because I can certainly understand, that, like my daughter, for example, she did end up getting the shot. She reacted quite badly to it. She's had her original and her first single booster, and she says, I'm done. But, she's also wants to have kids someday. So she's like, has there been any studies done on that? So there's some room where you can have concerns one way or the other. But not why we're here. We're here to talk about some scuba diving. I can get sidetracked on all these topics. And I think with the slate of articles, I've got, gosh, I don't even know how to count them. 10, 11, 12, something like that. Some of them are good.
You don't have to go. You don't have to do all of them. Well, save some for next time.
Nah. We'll go through these. But before we do that, I've wanted to get your opinion on what I was thinking of doing for next week. Is I thought about doing like a round table, and I can't tell if we're going to do it public or private, but just bring on all the stakeholders, listeners of the show, and we'd like bring them on like a giant conference call and just get some feedback that way.
Interesting to see.
Yep. So see,
here.
Yep. So see if that will work. So we would kind of invite everybody together, and I don't know if it would record it or not. I'd have to do some testing. See how well I call works, or maybe we do it some audio only. I'll have to play around because the way some of our video connection works, that may cause everything to crash. But I'd like to get some feedback on people to see what they want to do and what they value, and if they like the direction that we've been going or something else, you know. So I'm going to go back through some old lists of feedback and, you know, maybe people who have dropped off the show and just invite them on, and we just kind of discuss, because I've got some ideas and things I want to do, and I think I finally got some things ironed out. This last year has been almost like a phase 2 experiment with trying the video, and we did get some feedback this last week because somebody really liked the video format. So because everything takes time, and I'm trying to decide what is the best use of our time, and are people really enjoying what we're doing, or would they like something different? So I mean, you can drop us a comment at the show if you hear this. The show at scubaobsessed.com. Go to our website, www.scubaobsessed.com, and click on the form. I have to say, I'm bad at monitoring almost all these. So Twitter, at scubaobsessed. You know, the best way, really, and I hate to sound, I don't know, greedy, but if you go to Patreon and you donate or do a value for the show, I always hear that feedback. So it's always much appreciated. So let's jump right on into the news. First article that we have up, I got to cue that, is from PR Newswire. A wrongful death suit has filed in connection with Golden Ray shipwreck against Galveston Salvage Company. Harris County family, represented by law firm Murray and Farrell, has filed a lawsuit against the Galveston-based TNT Salvage for the death of employee Albert Dye, husband and father. Techman Group LLC is also named as the defendant. Winjan Dye had been employed by TNT Salvage as a specialized naval architect and salvage engineer from 2012 until his death. In 2019, the defendant bid on a complex salvage project off the coast of Georgia following the capsize of the Golden Ray. The Golden Ray shipwreck is the largest salvage operation in the history of the United States. The lawsuit claims Dye, who had over 2 decades of experience in marine salvage, warned TNT Salvage that its salvage plan was not achievable and posed significant risks. TNT Salvage won the bid, causing extraordinary workload on Dye, including during the first half of 2020 as COVID-19 caused global lockdowns. His widow, Yoon Zhu, claimed that Dye worked around the clock under extraordinary pressure. He died on June 29th, 2020, and plaintiffs make claims for gross negligence. The Golden Ray salvage incident was, according to one U.S. Coast Guard commander, the largest wreck removal in history. TNT Salvage also named as a defendant by the lawsuit by Glenn County, Georgia, where the capsize took place, which alleged negligent salvage operation caused environmental damage, including several fires, oil spills, allowed debris and hazardous fluids to get into sound estuary and marshlands. TNT Salvage ignored warnings, pursued a reckless salvage plan that cost $800 million, caused environmental destruction to the Georgia coast, and cost Albert Dye his life. The company should not work employees to death in pursuits of profits at any price. The lawsuit is ongoing. Houston-based Nijin and Chen is serving as a plaintiff's co-counsel in the case.
I think I would quit before somebody worked me to death.
Well, that's what, you know.
If it was so grievous, why didn't he leave?
Well, and this is an after the fact, so they don't say why he died. I mean, they're trying to imply he was worked to death, but there was a cause of death, which they have not covered. This is a PR, so they're trying to put a spin on it that this evil company did something. But yeah, this is probably trying to get out of court. Widow's going to try and get something. sorry for his death. I mean, that's, it's always bad. They don't say how old he was either, do they?
Or why he died.
Right.
I mean, was it COVID?
Right. Was it COVID? Was it a heart attack? Was it? Yeah. So they
I'd like to know the circumstances of why he actually passed.
mm-hmm. Yeah. We just don't know. They didn't give any details. Mm-hmm.
Right. Do you think most people would quit before they worked themselves to death?
Yes. In the United States, there's enough of a safety net that if you really felt you were being worked to death, I mean, there's people with a strong work ethic. There's a lot of people who nearly work themselves to death because they like to do it.
Responsibility.
Yeah, there's an adrenaline stress that can happen that people can get addicted to, and I do have that personality where I really like to work. Now, I don't like work, but I like the product of work. The challenge. I like a good challenge. I like the satisfaction of completing a project. I like the paycheck.
That's number one.
Yeah. But I've also, over time, have realized that in the end, is that what, I mean, it's not worth not seeing your kids, not seeing your family, missing on other parts of life, but that's up to you, to the individual to do it. I mean, certain jobs I think could be, like feast or famine. I watch some of these gold mining shows on TV where they're working like 16-hour days, but I also see that some of those miners are down in Cancun in the off season on the beach. So, if you, with balance, you can do it. So, one thing I'd like to point out is I did complete the salvage operation. So, because what this sounds like is, he talked with his wife about his concerns. So at some point in the project, he had expressed to her that what they were planning was not achievable and that there were significant risks. But that's kind of the nature of the salvage. I mean, nobody would assume that would be easy and not achievable. Obviously, it was achievable because they completed it.
Yeah.
So, and maybe it was largely because of him. Maybe that plan that he expressed on one date, they modified and made it another plan. So they're trying to bring in other things, such as environmental damage and oil spills and things that happen that are probably within scope of salvage. I mean, this is an industry because, I mean, he sounds like he must have been fairly well educated to be a naval architect, specialized naval architect and salvage engineer. So I don't think that's just you pick those things up.
Yeah.
He had some sort of, he had expertise, let's say, in that. So.
Well, like you said, it obviously, since it's done and completed, it was doable.
Yep.
Number two is if they had not done that, what about the environmental damage that would have been created by leaving it there?
Right. Yeah, there's going to be some, and I think, from news reports, from what we've seen, it took a long time. There was some stuff that got away in the course of it, but this is that was an insanely large project. Cutting a ship in half. I mean, I remember when they said what they were going to do. And they were not shy about spending money when they needed to spend money. I mean, that was some of the biggest rigs. And they're trying to make it sound like the cost of the project was the fault of the salvage company. No, the cost of the project was the fault of the guy who ran it into the ground. That's whose fault it was, not the salvage company. And they must have had a contract that said, hey, this is what we do and this is what it's going to cost. And they paid. It wasn't like they had any leverage over people, like at least that we're seeing in this. But well, if we find information out, we're covered it. Really not directly scuba diving, but we covered that wreck for several years. So I thought this was of interest. This next one, this is a follow-up. I think we've talked about this. Mission to recover World War II wreck with wine worth millions foiled by British authorities. Century-old bottles off the coast of the United Kingdom are just out of reach for scuba divers looking to salvage underwater vintages. The wreck of the SS, is that Liborn was sunk during World War I off the Cornish coast, believed to contain bottles of red and white wines as well as Benedictine liquor. The merchant ship was reported to struck down by German Navy when it was traveling from Bordeaux to Liverpool in 1918. The Mirror UK reports that the site contained some 10,000 bottles of wine and liquor. Scuba divers initially discovered the historic site and preserved bottles during the 2015 dive. The team, named Dark Star, had since taken photos of the underwater wreckages and been unable to recover any of the ship's cargo. A group of scuba divers applied for permission to retrieve the bottles, and a request was denied by the English government. Underwater wreckage is protected by Historic England and the Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sport, according to Mirror UK. 2001 UNESCO policy observed by the British government prevents a team from gathering artifacts for commercial gain. Bottles could sell for millions. According to Metro UK, similar bottles recovered from the Scuba shipwreck could be sold for £9,000 each. But diver Ian Hudson anticipates the bottles could reach £25,000 each. In addition, numerous bottles of merchant ship also contained gherkins, which sank in 1918. However, those have yet to be discovered by divers. I'm assuming gherkins are pickles?
Not sure.
Or is that a euphemism for something a little naughtier that they may have had on there? Yeah.
If it's worth that much or potentially worth that much, I can't believe the owners of the vessel or the insurance company wouldn't take it upon themselves to recover their investment money by doing a salvage on that.
Well, we've often lauded the UK for their on land, salvage operation. So on land, we see the articles every year or so. Somebody finds a hoard, a collection of gold or coins or other things in a field somewhere. And what they do is they identify it, they report it to the authorities, they come and look at it, and then the authorities have the option of buying it at a fair market value and then giving it to that person, or the person gets to keep it. This, because it's underwater, seems to have a different rule.
Well, if you know the owner and they still have title, they, as owners, can do what they want with their boat, their ship.
Yeah. So it says the underwater wreckage are protected by Historic England Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sport. And then there's also a UNESCO policy, which is observed by the British government. So they must have that government agency or a government agency, which has said, hey, when we've got a question on something, we're going to follow this. But I'm sure these individuals are not done trying to find a way for this, because you know what's going to happen. They're going to break up. Somebody else is going to take them and not follow the rules. But there seems to be an attack on reward for your effort. You know, for profit is what was covered in here. So if I take a photo of a wreck and then I sell that print, did I not make a profit? Maybe it's a calendar. I mean, or is that not allowed?
Don't even bring up that can of worms.
we got that other case. Was it down there in North Carolina where the state just used copyrighted material? Like,
Yep. Ours now.
Yeah, we're sovereign. You can't sue us. So I'm not saying that all wreck should be looted for this, but I think there could have been some sort of, yeah. This is probably worth an episode just on its own, because I can make an argument on all areas of the spectrum. But 10,000 bottles. Who's going down to see those 10,000 bottles?
Did it say how deep that was?
It's in dive. I think this one's in dive depth. I don't think they did this time. The wreck is the SS Liborn. I'm gonna go to another screen so people don't see me searching. But we'll take a look and see if we can find anything on this. The great big book of everything. Steamer ships hit by U-boats. U-boat.net. See what they have to say about this. The steamer Liborn. Gross tonnage is 1,219, built in 1918. Wow, it was brand new.
Yeah.
It always seems to be the way. The position. Ooh. Map going crazy. They don't give a depth on this one. If I can find it another site. Inside, this one's an article from the Mirror. Now, looking at his gear, I mean, that can be some depth to it. This may be one of them that we originally covered. Excuse me. They gave a price for the gherkins in this article, 425 pounds worth of gherkins. Sadly, there were no gherkins. The wreck is a long way offshore, so reaching it was reliant on good weather, and we are fortunate to have. Diving this deep is always going to be difficult, but the Dark Star team is one of the very best in the country. Looking at the lighting, I'm going to say it's fairly deep. So we can read into it that it's in tech depth. So 125 feet, let's say 250. So maybe they put that about 40 meters, 40 to 80 meters, I would guess. Is he driving a rebreather? Yep. Yeah. So they're not telling us, but you can get there in a rebreather.
Well, it'd be interesting to see how much money it would be if they were able to recover it. Go down hard hat, a hole on the side, direct access to the hole.
Mm-hmm.
Safer way to do it. Recover your money. Maybe. Salvage is a pig in a poke.
Yeah. Okay, this next one we have is diver creates a petition to stop classes at Jacksonville diving school following drowning. I'm not finding much else. It was just a video. This is one that you had, Mac.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a chance to take a look at this? Was it?
No, I just looked at the items.
Oh, the title?
Yeah, it looked like it'd be worth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll skip this one since I don't see anything without. It says Fausto Martins, 41, drowned at the CDA Technical Institute last week. Divers have created an online petition. Stop the underwater.
Did you say Divers Institute?
It says CDA Technical Institute.
That sounds like commercial diving.
Yeah, this is commercial diving. This is a school. This year, there's been a few schools that have had. Look at so this is the same one. So this is from April 22nd. There was a commercial school that had a death, and they're being investigated. And I think the follow-up from this, so before we... I'm going to look. I want to say, and let's see. We're going to do a little bit of searching here.
Where's that at? In Florida?
Florida. Yeah, we've covered this. Well, so we've got another one here. Maybe this will tell something. So this is just from a month ago, which you have a death, you have a lawsuit. Lawsuit filed after diver dies during certification celebration from Jacksonville's commercial diving school. Certification celebration. Tampa mothers filed a wrongful death lawsuit against troubled Jacksonville diving school CDA Technical Institute and one of its instructors following the September 2021 death of her son at a diving outing to celebrate his classmate certification. She says the diving instructor continued a drug and alcohol fueled party even after her son's body was pulled from the water at Ginny Springs.
Okay, now you're talking about cave diving?
Yeah, the lawsuit filed on behalf of the mother comes only 2 months after other CDA Technical Institute student died following an underwater training accident. Okay, so I think we probably need to do some more research on this because I don't want to link different articles that may not be related, but it does appear that this may be a separate event. And I do know that there was a technical diving institute in the U.S. that in the last couple of weeks has lost some of their certifications. They usually had multiple, and a couple, the main certifying companies had temporarily stopped their certification. So I don't want to say that it's this one. So we'll do some research.
It is.
Is it?
It is, and it's no longer part of the Commercial Dive Association.
Okay. Yeah. So that is what I had heard as well.
Yeah.
So it's the same one. Yeah. So yeah, we don't really talk a lot about commercial diving. I know that you had been a commercial diver, and we've got friends and fellow buddies that have gone on to become commercial divers. So maybe we should do a commercial diving episode and talk about some of this. Because it's attractive. I mean, commercial diving, if you really enjoy diving, I can see and then a lot of businesses need commercial divers. How do you pick a commercial dive school? How do you know if they're any good? Because every industry has training, you have better training, good training, and then some training that's not worth what you paid. So
it's I know, because I went to commercial school. I did coastal schools of deep sea diving in California. People I worked with, Sass, for example, he went to one and got his associate degree.
Mm-hmm.
It was a combination college and commercial diving, which is a smart way to do it.
Right.
Where you wind up with a degree also, not just a technical skill itself. I'm not that familiar with it, but often if you contact dive industries who are looking for divers, you ask, what are they looking for? What kind of certification? What little I know of the Canadian group, most of the Canadian schools are damn good, especially when you try to get a job over in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
We can look this up a little bit. That might be interesting to find out exactly what happened.
Yeah, because it's one of the things that I would like to talk about if we do that episode next week. Is maybe a different format. I mean, we've been doing. I mean, we're discussing news. We're not reporting news. I mean, I like that's something I've always had in the back of my mind. Is people can find the news. It's not hard to Google it, but we're hope that we're creating some value by our comments on it and maybe a little bit of perspective and my jovial, pessimistic attitude on many things.
Okay. The CDA, the school, is no longer associated with the Association of Diving Contractors International, which is the ADCI. And that was based on the recent deaths of 2 divers, Victor Pierce and Mr. Martin.
Yeah.
And based on that, they said they're no longer going to be issuing certificates or certifications to graduates of CDA. They said learning of a 3rd death associated with the school caused the CDA to audit them in June. And that's when they do their certification, from them.
And I'd say, which June is that? That wouldn't be this year, would it?
It sounds like it was this year.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that might make a good topic. What I'd like to do is have like some articles people could reference if they had, they want to know something a little bit more in depth, not quite as casual as we have, and then we would research it in advance and then give some details and information.
Oh.
Okay, let's see. I said these are quick, but I've been able to drag them each one out. All that. My computer's crying right now. So I apologize for if the video's a little jerky. Now here's another one that you had. Let's go to it. Loop News, which that's got to be like a top news source. Loop News. If I don't recognize the name of it, I'm kind of a little bit skeptical. But it says attorney diver could have been alive inside pipeline for 39 hours. The 4 divers who died at sea in a sea line and parafuel trading company could have been alive for at least 15 hours after the incident, which took place to Dean at a press conference at the Hilton Trinidad on Thursday, where he's presented the conclusion drawn by a private autopsy done by pathologist Dr. Herbert Daisley and the body of Kazim Ali Jr. Death certificate of Ali Jr. 36 stated the date of death was February 28th. The cause of death was asphyxia, drowning. Ramdeen, showing the contents of the autopsy performed by Dr. Daisley, explained the death occurred 48 hours before the body was recovered, give or take 12 hours. He said the maximum time the men could have been alive was 39 hours, 15 minutes. Ali Jr.'s body was recovered February 28th at 6 p.m. Ramdeen said the earliest time of death would have been on February 26th at 6 a.m. and the latest possible death could have been February 27th at 6 a.m. This is based on Dr. Daisley's report, which stated the earliest time of death was 15 hours and 15 minutes. These people were left in the pipeline fully well knowing that they were alive to die. There are no other reports because Teresa did not commission any report to contradict the finding of Dr. Daisley. He said when the lone survivor, Christopher Boudram, resurfaced, he mentioned to his researchers that other men were alive and the assurance was given they would not be left behind. However, that was not the case. With all the experts the pair got their advice from, they didn't realize that these people were, there were air pockets of pipeline that allowed them to survive for up to 39 hours after. What did Para do to save these 4 people that were clearly alive inside the pipeline after they were told these people were alive by Christopher Boudram came out? He said families of 4 men are now begging Parla for assistance and their breadwinners have died. Ramdeen also said the government-appointed commission of inquiry will not do anything meaningful for the grieving family members. Well, I mean, that's a tragedy there, too. We don't have any details behind what happened. So it's like they're asserting that what it doesn't say is, was anything done? I mean, was it like, hey, there's only a couple hours of air. We'll see you later.
Well, number one, they were in an enclosed space, a pipeline, wearing scuba gear, not hard hat, not surface supplied air. I'm looking at the pictorial of some of the divers before they left. I did not capture where this was at.
I don't either. I'm looking at like the photo. They're showing the photos of what I'm presuming is the deceased. And look, some of the clothing, has some like American, looks like maybe a stylized American flag. Maybe not.
I don't see that one.
Yeah, maybe not, but he's standing in front of a car. Let's see, can do a Trinidad. Yep. So they're in Trinidad and Tobago. So I'm guessing that the procedures are not quite as mature as that we would have them here. Yep. So.
It said the operation is continuing with respects to the 4 missing divers who were pulled into a pipeline while conducting an underwater maintenance exercise at number 36 Sea Line Riser on berth 6 at Parapointe.
So this sounds like an intake was operating and they got pulled in.
Well, operating, I don't know the key phrase for that, because if you're going to work with it, you would have it deadheaded. But why would you cap the end of it if you had people inside that you were going to rescue? That I don't understand at all.
Are they trying to stop the flow, maybe?
You wouldn't deadhead it. How are you going to get out? Put a flange over the pipe.
Yeah.
I've been in a 16-foot diameter pipe that even with flow, you get to the top, the arc, and you often will have air there. I mean, it's not like a total solid line at all times. If the pump is down, you'll have an air pocket up there because you don't have the flow. And if you have flow, you shouldn't be with the divers in there.
Right. So, yeah,
this would be an interesting one to look up a little better.
How about this? Wetsuit. Could a wetsuit save you from a shark bite? Shark attacks have been on the rise in Australia. High-strength material could give surfers more confidence in the water. Material science doctor Thomas Fiedler told Create that despite the rise, fatal incidents are still relatively low occurrence, averaging 2.5 per year in Australia versus 1,200 road fatalities and 200 drownings. Putting it into perspective, when you're driving by car to the beach, that's a lot more dangerous. Nonetheless, co-founder of Newcastle-based startup Aqua Armor, which has developed a prototype shark-resistant wetsuit. In 2015, he was approached by college professor Chris Dias, who runs Anatomy Lab in the University of Newcastle. Keen surfers Dias want to know if there's any high-strength materials to protect against shark bites. The pair combined forces with the University of Newcastle graduate student Trent Verstegen and Alexa Van Danga and found Aqua Armor. In the years since, they assembled a multidisciplinary team with expertise in human anatomy, kinesiology, material science, engineering, shark behavior, made significant progress on their prototype, which features novel fiber reinforced composite in a traditional neoprene wetsuit. He said, while the wetsuit couldn't entirely reduce the impact of the shark bite, the goal significantly enhanced survivability. A bit like a seatbelt in a car. Your seatbelt doesn't guarantee saving your life, but really stacks the odds in your favor. how a seatbelt works is it keeps you in a survivable area of the car. I don't think chainmail does the same. I mean, is there a survivable area of a chomp? Now you're gonna have.
Well, you have to just get your ankle, maybe,
Yeah. I'm not poo-pooing the idea. I don't think that analogy that they had was quite the correct one. Did they say how much this costs? I mean, it's a good idea, and I can see in certain particular areas, like your average wetsuit, unless you're paranoid, I don't see this being something that most people are going to buy. But if I'm a researcher and I'm voluntarily putting myself in these areas frequently. I didn't even show the article. There we go. Then that would make sense, but
I'm just curious. I'm the key material they're working with is novel fiber reinforced composite featuring caliber fibers with an elastic matrix and protective pads of material are sandwiched into a neoprene suit. I'm looking at the cutaway of it, and I'm just curious how flexible that suit's going to be and how freaking heavy it's going to be.
Well, I mean, is there a insulation benefit? What this may be, maybe one of the benefits might be is that it puts up with grubbing. It protects shark bites. Yeah. How about knee pads made out of this stuff? When we're on the bottom, pull on neoprene knee pad.
And I just use my plastic ones.
Yeah, I just keep diving in the wetsuit till it doesn't hold up anymore.
You don't have much of a wetsuit left.
A wet key.
We should take pictures and show that out. Maybe people will take mercy on you and send you either neoprene patches you can put on it.
Neoprene patch. I could be the most patched wetsuit ever.
Or maybe I just send a picture of you to Flex Steel and they'll automatically send me a couple of cases.
Yeah. So interesting. They don't say anything about price. Maybe in Australia. I don't know. I just think that for the cost it's going to add to a wetsuit for something that's so rare. I mean, because that's what they try in the beginning is they're trying not to bash sharks for people getting bit. But
well, there are several manufacturers of suit with armor,
right,
that we've already covered before.
Yeah, well,
it does work.
Well,
it doesn't look like the one I'm looking at here. That's actually chainmail.
Yeah. Well, and they've got them where you can put them over a wetsuit. I mean, this seems like you're adding complexity. You're getting found out. You need a pillow or something to.
What my foot is doing is hitting against the side of the wall here, and it's broadcasting through the house. And they're saying, "I can't sleep because you're thumping on the wall."
Yeah, we can hear it in the microphone too.
Can you really?
Yeah, it transfers everywhere. Yeah.
Well, you should have said something.
Doom, doom, doom.
I'm crossing my feet here.
So let's see, Japan. This is one that I put on. It's an interesting idea, but I have to go to the dark place and just wonder what happens to a scuba diver. Japan has a trial of a deep sea ocean turbine that could offer limitless renewable energy. The future of power generation for the nation looks green. An invention comes from Japanese heavy machinery maker IHI Corp. The company's been developing a subsea turbine that harnesses the energy of deep ocean currents for over 10 years. And they go into it. It says it sits on the seafloor at a depth of 30 to 50 meters or 100 to 160 feet. Well, most divers aren't there. That would be a bad day.
I would think that the area would be buoyed. That's like flying your airplane to a windmill farm. It's not highly recommended.
Well, I mean, those are towers and they're lit, and I guess fog would be the downside. But I mean, you have the same thing with a forest. And then forget divers. What are they doing to keep marine creatures out of it? Yeah.
I don't know. Is it something like a water wheel that the water comes through, and if you got captures in the bucket, you'd be tossed on the downsweep?
I don't know. They say that its current could generate as much as 200 gigawatts reliable energy, which of course means spending billions of dollars for this company. It's complicated to install the system underwater than it is to experiment with the onshore. The systems have to be tough enough to withstand the aggressive and hostile conditions of deep ocean currents. Unlike Europe, which has a long history of North Sea oil exploration, Japan has little experience with offshore construction. Japan isn't blessed with a lot of alternative energy sources. People may say it's just a dream, but we need to explore everything to achieve zero carbon, is what they're going for. There's a photo of it. So it's hard to tell. And I can't tell which is what is like. It kind of looks like a modified Star Trek Enterprise vessel. It's kind of like two nacelles off to the side and then a center section, but it's not clear as to what is the turbine and maybe what is buoyancy.
And what is the intake?
Yeah. And it doesn't, we don't know anything on this. So, but that's just what came to my mind is I just have this horrible nightmare being shredded by an underwater turbine. But maybe not. It could be good. Exploring Sweden's largest underwater cave system. In 2017, a group of cave divers began probing the underwater cave system in central Sweden's, was it Jämtland Mountains? I apologize to everybody for my 19th mispronunciation. When they began, they had no idea they're going to discover Sweden's largest underwater cave system. 15 years later, they are still exploring it. They were there last week. Cave diving is notoriously dangerous. Handpicked teams of 20 had to cope with deep snow, ice, and freezing temperatures, and that's even before entering the cave. Yeah, you gotta look at this ad here. Yeah, a little thing. You can't read the content. Idiots.
I'm looking at the pictures. The pictures are awesome.
Yeah.
And I like the 3D where they give you that entry point down through the cavern, the green, blue, green, red, so you can see the pathway they're traveling.
Let me see.
And then there's a good video on in the entry part in the water, among the ice and the snow as they go down.
Maybe I need to change the size. Oh, I see what it is. Is that showing? Okay, maybe we'll do that. It's the ad wrapping in the web design. So that's the green-blue one you're talking about right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. A really nice article. We'll have links in the show notes for you to get to them, but there's even a video there.
I think I would prefer warm water caving if I had to do it, as opposed to cold water.
Yeah.
I think I'd be more comfortable warm as opposed to cold.
Yeah, I think so. It says the entrance is cave and the passages within are so narrow that the equipment must be side-mounted. That's just what cavers do. Does it have to be? Cave system.
Does it have to be?
I mean, some people do cave dives in the back. So,
Well, depend if you're going through a tunnel or something.
yeah, well,
You can take it off and pass it through.
well, your squeezes, yeah. So, I'm just picking on the author who.
Yeah, but the idea of squeezing through, pushing my tank ahead or behind me is not really appealing to me.
Yeah, everybody has what amount of risk they want to do, and this is outside my risk tolerance. I did have done some cavern diving, and squeezes I really don't care for. So
No, I did a dive commercial like that, and was where I should not have been in the first place, and I had a problem.
Mhm.
I did not have a problem. Obviously, I got back out, but it was not a good place to be.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I was able to extricate myself from it. So no, I don't like tight spaces that you have to squeeze through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yep. Same with me. I'm not exactly a skinny person, and and we say if you got air, you got time, but don't put yourself in situations where you may need extra time. And getting
that
stuck
was the only thing for me. Yeah, because I had air, which I would have had time, but I got damn cold real quick. But you learn from those. You don't do things like that again. Hopefully you're smart enough not to do that again.
Yeah. And then here's like a little marketing piece, probably by Kenya, based on the Nairobi Wire. How safe is scuba diving in Kenya? And I know somebody who has a tour company and does. He had been a photographer for many years and then started doing these African safari tours. And he was asking me about the diving in Kenya. I'm like, I don't know. So, but looking at this, it may be worth finding out. It says, is scuba diving safe in Kenya? And it says, although Kenya's waters are not as explored as others, the Indian Ocean is a safe place to practice scuba diving. There are things to consider, such as season, safe spots, and proper instructions. However, Kenya is renowned for its excellent dive business, and therefore, here you can find many instructors well prepared to offer the best scuba diving. And they talk about diving deaths in general, so no different than the rest of the world. They talk about risk factors, medical problems, entrapment, diving too deep, running out of gas, diving alone. So some of the common things. But here's what I thought was interesting was a reason to pick diving in Kenya, looking at that clear water, is if you're considering visiting Kenya soon, you need to know more about the climate to pick the perfect season. Even though climate is hot, many experts advise visit Kenya in the months of November through March, as those months the water is very calm and clear. Which just so happens when we would like to not be here in Michigan, would be that November through March. So it sounds like a road trip's in order. April to May or October to November, they want to avoid as it rains a lot. Depending on the season pick, you experience temperatures from 25 C in August to 32 C in March. So, comfortable water temperatures. They talk about visibility. So,
Well, the pictures are showing look very nice.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I just don't think of Kenya as a diving destination, which is probably why they paid to have this put somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, here's another article. We'll probably just talk about the headline. Isn't that what everybody does now? You don't read the article, you read the headline. Wooden ships from the 19th century can fuel massive deep sea microbiomes. This is an interesting engineering, but I've seen this study cited all over the place this week looking for articles. So, but basically what they're saying is that there's, we had that one that was, didn't we have an article a few weeks ago where they were saying how bad shipwrecks were?
Oh, they can be.
Yep. And this one is saying that, there's a lot of marine life specifically because of the shipwrecks. And they go on to cover more. So we'll have a link to the article. Somebody might want to read that. Oh, let's see.
I like their quote where they say there are estimated 3 million shipwrecks around the world, and only 1% of the total wreckage has been discovered.
Yep. Well, you look, we're actually building more shipwrecks all the time. So the number of undiscovered shipwrecks increases every year. You'd kind of think that we're modern and that we know where people are, and with GPS you would be able to figure it out, but it doesn't happen that way. Boats disappear, they sink, or maybe we once knew where they were and it's forgotten. So, I had to cover this one. It's a local story. Was yesterday, June 8th. It says, why does Google Earth show a plane in the middle of a Michigan lake? Barlow Lake is like any other body of water in the summer. It features fishing, boating, what appears to be a lake stuck at the bottom of it. You familiar with the plane they've got in this lake?
No.
Well, it's because it's not there.
It looked like an F-86.
Yeah, they said, according to the photo on Google Earth, it certainly appears like there's a plane in the bottom of the lake. Something that was first brought up in a Facebook group called Grand Rapids Informed. The plane can be seen at the photo near the Camp Manitoulin, a long-time YMCA camp on the lake's northern portion. When zooming in, the plane has a Southwest Airlines logo, but is really at the bottom of the lake. Upon further review, it isn't. The lake isn't far from the Gerald R. Ford Airport in Grand Rapids, and plans can easily be seen. Plans. Somebody typed. Planes can easily be tracked near the airport. It looks like the satellite camera just inadvertently snapped a photo of the plane flying over the lake while it was attempting to land. So, but that certainly looks like a plane in the lake.
Yeah.
And I guess it's kind of like when you have a camera lens and it's on wide view, everything kind of flattens out. So from a satellite, how high up, to it and the camera, they're right next, they're right next to each other. So. And it had to be high enough up that it didn't have a shadow, because I've seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
Where the plane would have a shadow coming in. So, cool thing. So, we were excited. No plane this time. This is another one. We won't read all the details, but what I liked about it was we see a lot of articles on sculptures being done to help the reefs, but it seems to be one particular artist who's a great artist. I'm not slighting him, but why is he the only one? So here in Malaysia, artists created 14 gigantic sculptures depicting the island's myth and mystery creatures and dumped them in the sea. Sculptures are anchored off the coast of Pulau Pisar following the ceremony on the 22nd of May. Commissioned by the Natural Arts Gallery Seabound Initiative, the gigantic sculptures will serve as artificial reefs to support the recovery of marine life while providing unique underwater attraction for scuba divers. Tourism leaders are positioning the location as a water sports hub, focusing on mainly scuba diving and clubs through social media campaigns. So, and they go on and talk about some scuba lessons in a unit of monetary funds that I don't recognize. But I like that. I think that's a nice sculpture. I'd dive to see that. You know, a little modernistic or something. Concrete, cement, latex, metal rod, fiberglass, silicone. So, you know,
We dive the river. We like anything.
Yeah. Well, I'm even thinking of Lake Michigan. I would love to see a shipwreck sunk, and then maybe along the site around the outside would be nice. Yeah, every year, like, you know, downtown St. Joe does their, you know, sometimes it's cows or horses or hydrants or cars. They do different things, or artists decorate them.
Yep.
Why not, whatever it's decorated, do a concrete version and sink it out in Lake Michigan? Bring some divers in the area.
I like the next one. Holy Grail Shipwreck. $12 billion of treasure. This is my kind of dive.
You think there's 12 billion?
That's what it says.
The Holy Grail Shipwreck, 12 billion. And I have to count the zeros, you know, and the commas and everything. Treasure hoard, filmed after 300 years. Yeah. Position this a little bit. We've got... Okay, here we go.
I mean, I can handle 200 tons of gold, silver, gems, and jewelry.
Yeah.
I mean, I take one out of the 200. That's all right.
Yeah, this
I'm not gonna be greedy.
article's out of the metro.co.uk. Treasures of the Holy Grail Shipwreck have been revealed in astonishing underwater footage for the first time. Gold pieces, cannons, perfectly preserved Chinese porcelain cups are still scattered over the legendary San Jose galleon more than 300 years after it sank in the Caribbean Sea. The eerie blue and green images provided a glimpse in the Spanish hoard's hoard of treasure, Spanish ship's hoard of treasure, which was first discovered 2015, worth an estimated $12.6 billion. They're taken by the Colombian Navy, who sent remotely operated vehicles to a depth of 3,100 feet to observe the wreckage. Now that is outside weekend diving range there.
Just a little bit.
Yep. During the underwater missions, it uncovered two previously unknown shipwrecks close to the San Jose. The colonial area vessels are thought to be a galleon and schooner dating back 200 years to Colombia's War of Independence from Spain. Naval Commander Admiral Gabriel Perez says we now have two other discoveries in the same area that show other options for archaeological exploration, so the work is just beginning. Those
Those pictures are freaking awesome.
Those do look like coins. Pictures credited to AFP. I'm not sure who that is. But you can see the coins. I mean, this is the type of photos, like if you were doing this and you needed investors, this is what you want to show them. Those
cannons are not too shabby either.
I'm looking at some Chinese crockery. Wow, look at the detail on that. Wow. It says it could still take years before the ship's cannons and treasure are recovered in the bottom of the Caribbean Sea. Historians call the San Jose the Holy Grail of shipwrecks because it was carrying one of the largest amounts of treasure ever lost at sea. At least 200 tons of gold, silver, gems, jewelry collected by the Spain South American colonies were being shipped to King Philip V to finance his war of succession against the British. It sunk in June 1708 after coming attacked by the Royal Navy off the port of Cartagena. Owners of the wreck had been subject to long-running legal row between Spain, Colombia, and Bolivia for years. Yeah, they got that's some nice equipment there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What a couple $1 billion will motivate people to do.
Well, what is it? Columbia found the wrecks in its territorial waters and consider it part of its cultural heritage. And then they said, of course, legal challenge is expected to whenever the recovery of the ship takes place, and it will take years due to its significant depth underwater.
Yep. So when you're like, because this is a military vessel, right?
Yeah.
So as we know, military vessels, they're the property of the country that it was a military for, even though they were probably stealing it from someplace else.
Well, if it's in your territorial waters and you say, well, if we can't have it, you ain't sitting in our waters, nobody's going to get it.
Right. I mean, you're a sovereign country. Did you sign on to that treaty that says how that's going to be done, or do you follow that, or do you change your law conveniently because you don't want to split 12 billion? Is that what it was?
I would change the law. 12 billion is a couple of shekels, man.
12.5 billion. And that's pounds, isn't it? That's pounds. So that's even more. Yeah. Some great photos. I'm glad they shared the photos. Yeah, it's like...
Yeah, the pictures are great.
Yeah, and I think if I was Columbia, honestly, it'd be finders keepers, and damn it, you were taking it from us in the first place. This is where it was from. Screw you. I'm keeping it. Yeah. So, nice photos. How many times have we seen in the last few years, the Holy Grail of shipwrecks?
That one's pretty much on my top list.
Now,
I don't think I've seen any that's got that 12 billion in front of
what
it.
was that one over... was a Russian shipwreck where they were saying it was a $1 billion shipwreck, and it was a scam. They did the digital currency fraud to fund and they were so successful they got caught because they were trying to do a petty scam, and then it got viral and everybody knew about it. Now this, I love this topic of Egypt and Egyptology and diving. And then how about this opportunity to scuba dive under pyramids? It says the pyramids in Egypt are more famous, but the ones in Sudan hide the royal burial sites that archaeologists can explore as long as they don't mind swimming. Oh, you jerks. I'm not signing in. Sorry. So this is a National Geographic. You can visit it. We'll have links in the show notes, but when I viewed it on my phone, it let me see it, but on the computer, not so much. So how about some potentially cool scuba gear? This is explore the depths with Hydrus underwater drone from Advanced Navigation. Does that look like any drone you've ever seen?
No.
So I'm trying to figure out, is this a sharper image type of website where it's like some toy that, you buy and you can't ever use? You said, they're basically saying if you're too chicken to scuba dive, why not purchase one of these personal submersibles? If budget's an issue, then let Advanced Navigation kit you out with a cutting-edge gear. Most commercially available options can easily hit depths of 49 to 492 feet, depending on several factors. The Hydrus, is able to reach 9,842 feet. Furthermore, it does not require a tether, boasts an operating range of 30,000 feet. Recharges wirelessly. The features keep the housing completely waterproof. The Australian manufacturer says it will benefit those who work in various fields of research, conservation, ocean survey. The drone measures 8.5 inches by 10.25 inches by 10.25 inches, weighs roughly 15 pounds. Advanced navigation not specify the capacity, but it is UN 38.3 approved lithium ion battery, can power the Hydrus for up to 3 hours. 4K 60 frames per second camera. 20,000 lumens of lighting.
How much money?
So I'm trying to get to. I have a feeling they're not going to tell us.
I haven't seen it, but I'm also looking at it, and the size of the device and the thrusters, it's not going to be good in any current.
Yeah, there's something.
Who makes that one?
Advanced navigation. Yeah, there's no price on it. You know, this doesn't look like a real product to me. It looks.
So you said that was advanced. What's the company again? Advanced what?
It was advanced navigation. So here I've got their website, advanced navigation, autonomous underwater drone.
Well, Hydrus is a Windows-based modeling software.
Depth rating 3,000 meters. That doesn't.
Doesn't compute for the size.
No. I mean, the only way I would see you get, especially the pressure. Yeah, oil filled maybe might help you out. I want to be wrong on this, but small and affordable. Can't be that affordable if you don't say what it is. Affordable for who? Jeff Bezos, maybe? Think he could afford it? We go through a lot. Reef monitoring. Yeah. Like you say, it looks like current would just.
The thrusters are not going to be big enough to do anything. No.
Yeah, get a quote.
I found a different picture on site, and I'm looking at it, and the thrusters, the propulsion system is not enough for any kind of current. I will tell you that just looking at it.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't seem to be one that could do much, but you know, we can be wrong.
The pictures looked interesting.
Yeah, the
pictures that were showing that it was taking is interesting, but I don't know about that.
Well, I believe the quality. I mean, we're seeing DJI makes a big drone manufacturer out of China, who's probably the leader in drones right now. You can get 4K. You can almost get a drone, an aerial drone that does 4K for about the price of a normal 4K camera. I mean, the economy and price on this is getting way down. So
it'd be interesting to have more details on that, like price.
Yeah. I'd like to know if they've actually made one. Well, here they're showing somebody throwing it out of a boat. I mean, some parts of that design would be kind of handy. It seems to be kind of a single structure.
Look at the video just a second, I'll tell you. The video from it's absolutely fantastic. If this is in fact from that drone.
What point in the video do they show the...
I'll have to send you the link.
See, they throw them in the water. But see, it's non-tethered, which is attractive like this. So if that's the case, you're not driving it from the surface. You've got to autonomously program it, I would think, if it's not tethered.
There you go, you got it. Yeah, because that looks like it's on either a wellhead or a existing oil rig, and they just toss it down.
Yeah, they did it just to give it something, because you know there's fish around those. So.
Well, absolutely.
I mean, this would be a no-brainer for a commercial diving operation if it's not that expensive. Yeah. All the video I saw was not shot by it. It was shot by the camera crew showing it. Oh, maybe that's
from the drone. It looks quite interesting.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, at first I kind of, because it didn't look like a normal design, but hey, why not? Not seeing the price doesn't make me think it's affordable, at least for us.
Yeah.
And the depth rating is what just seems crazy. I mean, that's almost like saying something super waterproof or, you know, is... Because my guess is whatever they're doing, they feels like infinitely, it can handle any depth. So they just put that on there because, I don't know, 3,000. I mean, just think of what that is. So 3,000 meters is
300,000 feet.
Well, right, but was that how many atmospheres? I'm thinking 300.
Bunch.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just okay, maybe. Just send us one. We'll play around with it. There's a submarine in Lake Michigan that this would probably be good to check out with.
Sure.
Well, what I like about, I mean, if this is autonomous, if you got 3 hours of time with this and you could program it, you could actually from shore, I wonder what kind of range that you would have. Range, oh, it says right there, 9 kilometers. So, could you, so 9 kilometers, so it's going to get you a couple miles out and back. So you'd still want to have a boat as a platform. I'm just thinking of all the types of, you know, we mow the lawn. Why not park your boat, get a barbecue out, throw this thing over, and then when it comes back, you review the footage and the data.
And I'm looking at a different picture of a different one, the Hydrus Vr A360.
By the same company?
Underwater camera with HK. Yeah. Octo Crypto, that's what it's called. And it tells me the website is a bad one to go to. So I won't go there. Now that company makes a lot of different types.
Well, they make a lot of sensors. I mean, they're not slouches engineering wise by looking at the products they have. So it makes you wonder what was behind them making this. Was this like maybe a passion project for one of the engineers and they went, yeah, we'll do that. It doesn't, here they've got a rugged and cost-effective inertial measurement unit, which those are, and this is, your phone has an inertial measurement unit. That's how it can help augment GPS and things. It knows velocity where you are, but these are commercial. I'm not seeing, and they got the rating, update rate 1,000 hertz. I mean, these, yeah. So dual antennas, what industry are they in? I mean, advanced navigation. There's yeah, it looks like a lot of marine applications.
It's aggravating you can't get more detail on it, even by looking at the
No,
company.
they're a commercial operation, so they're not going to put it out there because it's like, well, how much money do you have?
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, that does it for Scuba in the news this week. We got a little sidetracked, but made it through. So, did anybody get any diving in this last week?
Yeah, we had the Tuesday night dive with the Mud Club, and that occurred at, got my cord here, tangled up. Let's see, where did we go? Where's the only shipwreck you can do inland?
Inland.
Called the South Bend.
South Bend?
Yeah, the shipwreck, the South Bend. Got an island in the middle of it. On the lake.
Why am I drawing a blank on that?
Yeah, well, just let you think about it.
Is that the one you're talking about? The one in Diamond Lake?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking when you in my mind when you said inland, I was thinking on land, and I'm like, well, I'm picturing like a McDonald's playground or something.
Now the dive was let's see, we started at 6 o'clock, finished about 9 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had 7 divers on the wreck.
Wow, that's good.
2 bubble watchers. I did a shore dive myself, and found a few trinkets. And then we had a bratwurst cookout, which was very, very good. And I got home about 11 o'clock. The water was fabulous. I did wetsuit, no gloves. So even in your wetsuit, you'd have been comfortable?
I'd have been fine. I'd have been able to make it.
Yes. I think it was 49 on the wreck at 40 feet, 37 feet.
Okay.
So next week's dive, next Tuesday, is slated right now for Magician at the fire lane.
Now, are fire lanes legal to access?
As long as you do not block them for access to emergency equipment.
Okay. Because I know we've used them before, but
a lot of them are very, very narrow. They're between 2 houses, and you can't even park a car there. The one that we're talking about, we've had our ice dives there, and you've got plenty of room to put a fire truck plus our cars.
Right. And these fire lanes are intentionally created to provide access to the lake for water for fires. So instead of
for the pumper truck to suck water.
So instead of having hydrants around, they said, since we got this body of water, we do a fire lane which provides access for the vehicles, and then there's probably a down intake.
Yes, so there's a pipe that goes out.
So they hook the hoses on, and then they can draw water from the lake.
Put it in the pumper, and then go to the fire scene.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a little time consuming.
Yep.
So again, as long as you've got accessibility, it is generally not an issue.
Okay.
So what you do is make sure your bubble watchers have all the car keys.
All the car keys.
Well, we gotta
so
move 'em to
I
the
see.
fire truck.
Yeah. See, you always hear that the firemen just would love to, break the window to get to wherever they need to go, or push your vehicle into the lake.
I wouldn't know about love to, but if you park there, you deserve to get your window broken so they can run the hoses to the hydrant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's just like parking in front of a hydrant in a city.
I know when I snow blow around here, I make sure the fire hydrants nearest my house are uncovered.
Yeah, because I want them when I need the fire department, I want them to be able to get to it right away.
Yeah. Well, they put a flag on it, but I just make sure it's uncovered so they don't have to be dorking around with uncovering it to get to get their hose on it.
Well, and then, that January where you've had some freeze thaw cycles, so they've got this half-inch of ice on the hydrant. Or if you have it exposed to the sunlight, even in cold parts of the winter, it'll eventually melt or sublimate off. So you said next week there's another one planned for Tuesday?
Yep, and you got the SAS dive on Wednesday.
Yep.
And I can't remember, there's actually another group that goes out on Thursdays also. So there's 3 different avenues you can go diving if one day doesn't suit you.
It seems like we're seeing a lot more diving clubs going out, or are we just more aware of them?
I think, well, we've always been aware of SAS.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones do like to do the same thing. We've got an aging club, we do. So it's nice to tag along with others. We have younger members.
Okay.
We're just fortunate to have wolves where there are. I mean, if we did not have local air, it would really put a damper on a lot of our diving.
Oh, it certainly would. You have to have local air. Oh. Yeah, because I don't know what you'd either have to have your own compressor, or you would travel quite a ways to have tanks filled.
Well, and back in the day, like Larry has his, Ken has his, he has a whole bank of tanks.
Yep.
I've got 8 tanks.
Bert?
Everybody's going to have stuff.
Yeah. Well, do you have a dive safety story for the week, or?
Not today. I don't have one. There has been some controversy, though, about what is considered an aging diver. Well, actually, we'll talk about that. Actually, we've already been on over an hour, but.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Well, according to Divers Alert Network, Dan, older divers are defined as those over the age of 50. And in recent decades, those older divers have constituted an increasingly large percentage of the global dive community. And our club's a damn good example. So they put out 9 tips for elderly divers, meaning those over 50. So God knows what they're going to mean I need to do. Item number 1, common sense, be cautious. There's nothing wrong with being sensibly cautious as you get older. It's vital to avoid situations that might challenge your physical limits or cause undue stress. You can expand your safety margin by considering the following: making shorter, shallower dives, extending any surface interval between dives, reducing the number of dives you make each day, dive nitrox instead of air to totally decrease that nitrogen exposure, and avoid dives that might exceed your physical your physical exertion ability, which then causes all sorts of stress. Like today, shallow dives in calm water can be extremely enjoyable, reward slower, more patient, and older divers with exciting sightings. That's right up our alley because that's the river, except when the current's fast. The other item, of course, maintain general fitness. Irrespective of your age, maintaining a reasonable level of fitness for scuba diving is essential. It says, as we get older, make time to exercise, manage your weight, make sure your dive equipment is set up correctly, make sure you have the ability to do the surface swimming like you did in the old days. You may be slower, but you should be able to do it. Because if you need to have that that ability to do it. And dive with a buddy. It says avoid dehydration because older people don't drink as much as they should be. It's important to remember dehydration is a factor and can increase the risk of decompression sickness. So make sure you're staying hydrated. Other one for over 50 is consider the cold. It's pretty standard for older people to feel the cold more, so you might need to plan for wearing a thicker wetsuit than you're used to. And a hood can significantly reduce your heat loss. And when you're changing out, make sure you have a good towel and a good place out of the wind to change. Avoid getting that chill. It says help your eyesight. If possible, dive with a mask that has lens adapted if you need lenses. You can use your contacts, but be aware that you can possibly lose them if your mask floods. If you're going to use a dive computer or other items like that or pressure gauges, you need to make sure you can read the indicators. So you may need larger digits. And again, it said the equipment considerations. Smaller fins are easier to put on, and you don't need as much strength to swim with. You don't have the same propulsion, but again, you're pacing yourself. And again, smaller fins in current aren't really great. A wetsuit, well, they vary very hugely in how you put them on, take them off. The thickness, that depends on what kind of environment, meaning how cold the water is that you're diving in. And a lot of people use travel-sized BCDs to reduce their weight. Key item again is they said don't strain yourself, don't overstretch, be careful when you're lifting your tanks, bending for weights, or climbing ladders. Those are stress points for older people. And again, I keep saying older is what they consider over 50.
Over 50?
That's 50, that's what they say. And pay attention to your health and fitness changes.
Mm-hmm.
You get used to doing it because you did it last month or last year, doesn't mean you can do it today.
Yep.
And choose those you dive with. If you can pair up with somebody a little younger, not a bad thing, as long as they dive with you in mind and you're not trying to keep up with them. What is it? It said, buddies are more understanding to an older diver, so pair up with an older diver. Birds of a feather. And conclusion they said was, there isn't an age that a person must stop scuba diving, and similarly, there isn't an age at which it is no longer possible to learn. Key item is, your health determines what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Your physical ability determines what you do. And if you're monitoring your health and keeping yourself fit, you can dive till you're in your 90s.
There you go.
I think that's interesting when they say 50 is considered older or elder divers.
Well, Dan and others are looking at statistics and what happens, and that's probably when you start seeing the increase of health related issues. I mean, you're always going to have it. I mean, you're going to have people who are compromised in some way, but 50 and on up, that's when things start adding up.
And the other item they wanted to know is when you're diving on resorts, especially not around here, meaning you're going for a warm water, some places are now, if you're past 55, you can't dive. Even if you have certifications that show you're current, they don't want the liability. And Dan is asking that if you run into that situation or you have somebody who has ran into it, to please let them know what the requirements, what the limiting requirements were that they're now addressing. Is it age, physical conditioning, or your certification?
Mm-hmm. Well, they're going to try and collect the data so that they understand what's going on. And then some of this may be illegal. Just because...
Well, if you're in a foreign country, what may be illegal here isn't necessarily there.
True, if you're in a foreign country, but we've even heard that in Florida.
We've heard it from a couple of our club members who like to travel.
Yep.
That they ran into an occasion that they were not permitted because they were over 60.
Yep. So
it's pretty funny when you stop and think, oh, well, hell, I'm closer to 80. Wait a minute here, everybody.
Well, and what's interesting is you have a valid pilot's license, but yet they would deny you to be able to scuba dive.
Yeah. And we won't go into there.
Okay. So, okay, well, I think we are getting to that time of the show. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm sitting down.
Okay. An engineer dies and reports to the pearly gates. St. Peter's checks his dossier and says, "Oh, you're an engineer. You're assigned to hell." So the engineer reports to the gates of hell and is let in. Pretty soon the engineer gets dissatisfied with the level of accommodations and starts designing and building improvements. After a while, they've got air conditioning and flush toilets, escalators, elevator, and so on, and the engineer becomes a pretty popular guy. One day, God calls Satan on telephone. He says, "Hey, how's it going down there?" "Hey, things are going great. We've got air conditioning, flush toilets, and escalators. There's no telling what our engineer is going to come up with next." According to Satan. "What? You've got an engineer? That's a mistake. You should never have gone down there. Send him back up here immediately," God says. "No way. I like having an engineer on staff. I'm keeping him," Satan says. "Send him back or I'll sue," God says. Satan laughs uproariously and answers, "Yeah, right. Where are you going to get a lawyer?"
I like that one.
Thought it kind of fit in with the topics tonight.
It was only that easy, huh?
Yeah. So on that note, go out there and get wet.
And dive safely. Think safe, dive safe.
Yep. It's still saying it's recording. And as soon as the slide changes, I will end the stream.